Have you ever wanted to create opportunities for yourself, get in rooms, have a chance to succeed at what you're doing? If you answer yes to any of those questions, today we're going to talk about how podcasting can open doors for yourself. So, welcome to another episode of Phase Knowledge. I'm your host, Terryl Humphrey, and over the last half a decade, I produced over 893 podcast episodes while helping 17 entrepreneurs launch their podcast with confidence. And the biggest thing that I've learned so far is that when you are podcasting, you are literally creating an opportunity for yourself. You're not going in asking for things. You're going in to learn about the other person, about the other conversation, about something that you don't fully understand. Podcasting can open doors, because the doors that was closed are the doors that's being opened because you're asking to learn more about this person. So if you're new here, welcome. What's going on, Sharon? We're going to get it started. We're going to get it dived in today. So let me go ahead and share my screen. First thing first, point number one, podcasting can open the doors, but before the doors get open, you have to develop. You have to develop a plan. So while learning about entrepreneurship, learning about marketing, learning about sales, learning about podcasting and how it can actually become a business, they talk about planning. They talk about how you have to have a plan, but with this plan, you have to have things on there that's going to say what you're going to do, who you're going to help, and how you're going to go about doing it. When I discovered this, one thing that I've learned is that sometimes the doors are closed because you're approaching it wrong. Sometimes as you are approaching the door, you can go from the side. I heard that from somebody else. Like, you just don't always have to go in the front door. In other words, there are opportunities to be created. And the opportunities come from you standing out. The opportunities come. Let me make sure that my audio is on, because yesterday my audio was off and it's on. The opportunities only come from you putting yourself out there. When I start to see the opportunities that I was building or having a chance to be a part of, something happened to me. What happened was that the doors that was once closed, started to become open. What does that mean? Sales started to get, I ain't gonna say more easier, but less overwhelming. Because it's not the type, it's not just the conversation that's happening. It's literally who you're having the conversation with that makes a difference. I've had countless amount of conversations, interviews with executives, thought leaders, CEOs, entrepreneurs, and so many people who are doing business at a good level. If I was to go to them and ask them for coffee, it would be hard. Hold on. For coffee and or to pick their brains. In other words, like, if I can sit down and talk to them and learn about what they're doing, why they're doing it. Okay. That door is closed. This is coffee. That door is closed. Why is it closed? It's closed because many times people who are busy, people who are busy don't have time to sit down for coffee. Don't have time for people to ask them questions to understand how they went from point A to point B. They don't have time to talk about themselves. You see, what I discovered is that podcasting can open doors because you're giving them an outlook, you're giving them a platform, you're giving them a place to communicate. When I start to understand that Phase Knowledge was more than just a podcast, it was a way to communicate. It was a way to connect. It was a way to bring in guests that really blows my mind. It's amazing the amount of guests that I've had on a Phase Knowledge podcast, and every single guest bring a new insight. Every single guest bring a new form of information. Every single guest bring their own experience. And so when I start to understand that podcasting open doors, in other words, it creates opportunities. Before I interviewed the Tampa Bay Buccaneers COO, I've done countless amount of interviews, had over 240 million, oh, not million, I'm sorry, hold on, 240,000 views. And what they taught me was one thing. The doors only get open when you are doing the work. The work creates opportunities. Opportunities comes from the work. You see, before I start interviewing executives, before I start interviewing leaders, before I start interviewing entrepreneurs, I was trying to figure it out. And now, as I got more clear behind the business that I'm doing, which is the podcast production business, podcasting creates opportunities because the doors that are open, in other words, the information that's there won't be shared unless you have a platform to give somebody. Unless you're giving something to someone, why should they do and communicate with you? When I start to understand that I was creating another opportunity, a door to step into, the opportunity that I was stepping into came from me understanding that I needed to do the work. I needed to do the work when no one's listening. I need to do the work when no one's watching. I needed to do the work when I'm the only one that's showing up. You see, consistency has a price. Hold on. Opportunity has a price. Opportunity equals money. Opportunity equals time. Let's just say this is a clock, 3, 6, 9. You got the little thing right there. And you got the little thing right there. You see, opportunity consists of money. Opportunity consists of time. Opportunity consists of effort. Before that door gets open, you got to do the work when no one's there to open the door. As I started to understand that Failure's Knowledge was more than just a podcast, as I start to help multifamily investors build their brand through podcasting, it's more than just a conversation. You're not just talking to everybody. You're talking to people who's going to elevate your platform. As I start to understand that my platform was being elevated, something started to happen. What happened is that I start to stand out even more. I'm not just going to different places asking for favors. No. You see, I'm going to places to bring value. I'm going to places to bring value. And as I bring the value, this right here is called a podcast. You see, the conversation is being held, the dialogue, the information is being transferred. What happened is that they have a space. This is called a space to share. You see, sharing is caring. Shout out to Tony. I actually helped him with his podcast, and every time he came out, he was like, "Sharing is caring. Sharing is caring." You have to be okay with sharing information if you care about the other person's success. You have to be okay with sharing the information because the information needs to be shared. When I started to understand that I was creating opportunities for myself, podcasting became really important. It became important because it's no longer a second guess. Like I'm no longer guessing. How do you create opportunities? Opportunities comes from different doors. You see, if it was easy, everybody would be doing it. In fact, last time I checked, there was over 4.5 million different podcasts out there. Why is everybody so interested in launching a podcast? Because it gives them opportunity to create a platform. It gives them it gives them opportunity to lead with value. The value is the thing that I was struggling with. It's not just a conversation. It's not just an interview. It's not just me recording content. No. It's so much work that goes into podcasting. It's literally a full-time job. Because you're not just recording. Everything that happens, this is called a red button. And what this red button, what this red button do is this. Red button. What this red button does is this. Hold on. In fact, here we go. I can actually make it red. This red button, here's what it does. It records. That's it. It captures the moment. It captures the conversation. It captures the information is being exchanged. Okay. If that red button is not pressed, there's no recording. But when the red button or the recording button gets pressed, what happens? Value is exchanged. Podcasting can open doors because value is exchanged. Shout out to my wife. She always say that it's all about value. You gotta give value. You gotta inform people about the value. Tell people about podcasts. Tell people about the industry. It's the value that's being exchanged. You see, when I start to understand that podcasting was more than just content creation, it's literally a way to open up doors. And then when I start to understand that multiple different people want to launch their podcast, but then they hesitate to press that button or to press that red recording button to help them capture the moment. It's not just a mindset thing. It's literally, do I bring value to others? Do I bring value when I press record? Do I bring value when I start communicating? The value is inside of you. You just have to understand the value that you are presenting. Hold on. The value is what people are looking for. Podcasting helps you create value because when you have value, doors are opening. When you have value, your opportunities are coming to you. When you have value, you're no longer trying to just sell. You're coming in presenting a platform where people can come share. You see, it's more than just a conversation. Podcasting is more than just an interview. Podcasting is more than just a recording. Podcasting is more than just a live stream. Podcasting is a way to create new opportunities for yourself. You see, what we're talking about now is that you have to develop a plan. Everything that your podcast does, it has to follow a plan. In other words, what's the business behind the plan? People often ask, how do you get paid from podcasting? And I'm like, well, there's multiple different ways that you can get paid. You got sponsorship opportunities, which I'm not doing yet, but I will be doing in the future. You have affiliate links. I'm not doing that yet. I tried to do it here and there, but I was like, something ain't adding up. You telling me that it's a product is $20 and then I get like maybe $2-3? There was gonna be a lot of work for no reason. I'm not doing it yet. Then you got so many different ways where you can sell your own service, where you can sell your own experience, where you can sell your own education. Our customers, which are multifamily investors who are building their brand through podcasting or who want to build their brand through podcasting, we help them get their experience out. We help them educate. Hey, if you're gonna get into real estate, investing in multifamily units, this is what we did. This is what worked for us. This is what to look out for. You see, education is the value. Education is the value. The value in the education is helping people understand what they're getting themselves into. You see, podcasting is more than just a recording. Podcasting is more than just a conversation. Podcasting is more than just an interview. Podcasting is a platform where you have a space to create value. Hold on. Point number 2 is this. Give yourself time. And I say time because time. I say time because time 6, 9 is of the essence. In other words, time doesn't stop for anybody. Time keep going. Time does not stop. But what happens is that when you learn how to work with the time, the value that you are creating only comes from the moment that you're taking. If it was easy, everybody would be doing it. But when the doors are open because of your podcast, the doors are open because you are doing the work every single day. You see, I started to understand that if I wanted to like make a name for myself, if I want to have a podcast production business, I have to start doing what I'm talking about and do it consistently. And the consistent part, the consistent part takes a lot. I'm talking about a lot of time. What this does is this. It challenges you to become better. It challenges you to be consistent. It challenges you to have a plan. You see, when you put a business plan behind your podcast is no longer a hobby. Your podcast becomes a business, which is a form of marketing and putting yourself out there. When I started to understand that I'm not just recording videos, I'm literally marketing myself. I'm literally putting myself out there so that way when people are ready to launch their podcast with confidence, when multifamily investors are ready to build their brand through podcasting, I'm the go-to guy for that. But in order for me to be the go-to guy for that, I have to do the work consistently. If it was easy, everybody would be doing it. But since it's challenging, not a lot of people is going to be doing it. So the plan that I have for the podcast production business over the next year, here's my goal, okay? My goal is to go live every day. Every day. My goal is to have a podcast every day. Have a hold on. Go live every day. That's a form of having a podcast. That's a form of having a podcast. My goal is to start. Hold on. My goal is to start. Hold on. There we go. My goal is to start making revenue from my ideal clients. My goal is to help 50 people launch their podcast with confidence in the next until December. Launch their podcast by December. So I'm following a plan. I'm following the blueprint. But what happens is that I know what I'm working towards. I know what I'm offering. I know how to do it. I know I'm learning how to follow up. I'm learning the business of podcasting. And as I'm doing the business of podcasting, I'm documenting what's working, what's not working, what I failed at, what I didn't fail at, and why, and what you can start applying for yourself as well. what this does is that it's helping educate about podcasting. Podcasting, anybody can pick up the laptop, pick up a microphone, and start recording. But the ones who are really making a difference are the ones who understand the value that they're bringing. It's not just about podcasts. It's not just about pressing the red button. The red button, as I said earlier, is the button to record. That's the button to record. It's not just about pressing that record button. It's literally about having a plan in place and then executing that plan on a daily basis. So one thing that I started to really understand, like if I want to really put myself out there, I have to put myself out there strategically. And for a while, I'm like, man, posting ain't bringing nothing. Posting ain't doing nothing for me. But it is. I'm literally marketing my business. And in order for people to learn what I'm doing, I have to continue to market my business. And for a while, I was like, dang, like, I'm not seeing no results. But then I recognized results comes later. If I would have understood that results come later, the time that I was developing, putting into the phase knowledge, I would have understood that it takes a long, long time to become and have a business. So every time I stop and start, I have to start over. But what if I keep doing it? What if I keep showing up? What if I keep reaching out? What if I keep putting myself out there? What if I keep recording? What if I keep doing the work? What if? That was the thing that I was missing because I was figuring out what I was selling. Launching your podcast with confidence starts with the plan. What's the plan? You see, if I was to take a road trip, right? This right here is called a map or GPS. If I put a certain address in to the GPS, I can go to the GPS. I can go to their location. But it has a point A, let's say point B. To get there won't be easy, but to go there will be possible. Because going there is literally just making a decision every single day to do the work. Podcasting can create opportunities if I'm the one that's doing the work every single day. When you have a map, a plan to follow, you have a goal to achieve. And so I still plan big, I have big goals, but really my goal is narrowing it down. Because I know what I'm selling now. I know how to sell it. I know why to sell it. I know how to help. I know the value to bring. I know what happens after the sale. I know what happens as I'm marketing myself. I know I've learned how to put that in place. And now that it's in place, I just have to do it every single day. Point number three is this. Is to document the journey. Document the journey. So what we just went over before we go over the last point, what we just went over was point number 1, develop a plan. You have to develop a plan for your podcast. Point number 2, give yourself time. It's not going to happen overnight, but if you do it every single day, it will eventually happen. Point number 3 is to document the journey. In other words, the wins. In other words, the losses. In other words, the almost. In other words, everything. Document everything. When I start to understand the importance of documentation, it became different. It's different to do what's working. If it's working, keep doing it. If it's not working, change it. There's a terminology called A/B testing. And with this testing, you're testing two things against each other. So when let's just say if I was to write on a board, okay, I got a notebook behind here where I have a regular pen, regular notebook. If I was to have the regular pen, regular notebook, and have my iPad and my new pen, the comparison would be this. How many pages in the notebook will I have until I have to get a new one? How much can I write before I have to buy another pen? Okay. Here's the other comparison, the iPad with the electronic pen. How often do I need to charge the iPad? How often do I need to charge this pen? The challenges are different. Paper is gonna run out, the ink's gonna run out. The electronics just gonna go dead. I might have to replace the tip every once in a while, but I don't know how once in a while it is. Even if I do, I got backup just in case I need to replace it. But what I'm doing is I'm comparing the two. I'm weighing. It's like a scale, and you got A and B, and you're testing to see which one is better, why is it better, how can it be improved, what can be involved in it. In business, I'm testing right now on I'm running ads right now. The headline is the top of the thing, the top of the sentence that when you go to a website, that's the first thing you read, and the second thing you read is the sub headline, and then so on and so forth. So I'm testing the first thing that you read when you go to a website. So it kind of looked like this. Test A, test B. It has this, it has that. But these are going against each other, like they're being tested against each other. And so this one, let's just say this one might have 10 people, page views. Let's say page views. In other words, 10 people who visit your website. This one has one website. I'm put website visitor. Website visitor. This one is the winner. Why? Because it has more page views. So maybe this messaging is better than the other messaging. Why is that important? When you document everything, you're documenting what's working, what's not working, why it's working, what can be better, what can be improved, what can be different. As I started to understand that, I was like, oh, this podcasting thing is really different. It's a method behind the madness. I'm developing the method because I'm documenting the whole entire journey. I'm documenting the whole entire process. I'm documenting everything. What happens is that now I have a standard way of doing business. Standard way of doing business. Why? Because it's not customized for every customer. That was my challenge in the beginning. And shout out to this book, Built to Sell. And they talk about how you're trying to do everything for all of your customers. And it was like when you generalize your business, you're not specialized. And I was trying to figure out like what that even meant. And it was like, well, they was doing websites, social media, advertising, billboards. They was doing so many different things within their company. And they was trying to do different things, like they were trying to sell it. And it was like, well, right now your business is not viable. Like nobody's gonna buy that because it's not, like, you're all over the place. And he was like, instead of just focused on 5 different things, what's one thing that you have a process with? What's one thing that you have steps with? What's one thing that you can follow to the T and make it standardized? And then he went to what's it called? Logo designs. He went to logo designs. And so he had a process behind it. And I was like, oh, I need to have a process. Oh, I need to be standardized. Oh, I don't need to be all over the place. I need to be focused on podcasting and branding and helping multifamily investors build their brand through podcasting. If I'm that clear, if I'm that specific, my product and services are standard across any customers I come encounter with. Why? Because it's the same thing, just different people, but it's similar customers. So that was the thing that I was struggling with. Shout out to one of my mentors. And when I was talking to him, I asked the question. I was like, let's just say he had, and not these are not the exact numbers that he said, but it was something similar. So let's just say he took the company from 100,000 to 1 million. Then I asked him, I'm like, how did you do that? Like, how did you go from $100,000 to 1 million? Like, did you have different customers? Did you solve a different problem? How were you able to do that? He said, nah, man. He said, this is what I did. I had one customer and solved one problem. So now, whenever I go solve the problem for the next customer, it's the same problem. And I'm like, that's what I was looking for. This whole entire time, I don't need 10 different problems to solve. I just need one to solve it in a standard way. I just need one way to solve it consistently. I just need one way to solve it for the same person. Same type of person. Not the same person, but the same type of person. So as I start to understand it, I was like, oh, that's what I needed. I was figuring it out. And once I figured it out, I knew who I was serving. So to recap everything that we talked about today and why podcasting can open doors for you, point number one is that you have to develop a plan. If you're going to be podcasting, have a plan around your podcast and execute the plan every single day. I'm getting back into the habit of executing the plan every single day because if I don't, nobody's going to. Point number two that we talked about was that you have to give yourself time. The time that you're giving yourself is hold on, there we go. You have to give yourself time because it's not going to happen overnight. It's going to happen after your consistency, after efforts that you're doing, after work that you're doing. It only comes from you giving yourself time. Last point that we talked about is to document the journey. In other words, document everything. You never know you're going to need something, but in business, if you standardize your business or your concept, you will eventually be able to help a lot more people. That's one thing I learned the last couple of months, last couple of years, is to standardize the business and have a way where I can do it on a consistent basis. So if you're somebody that's in the process of building your podcast, your business, or you just want to join a community so that way you don't feel alone, make sure you hit that follow button, hit that subscribe button, because one thing that I learned about failure is that it's never the end, it's always the beginning. Lastly, don't be afraid to fail because failure is knowledge. I appreciate y'all and I'll see y'all on the next one. That was good.